Ladies, gentlemen, welcome to another episode of GTA Online Hot Takes, the show where we take your hottest takes and then see how much I agree or disagree with them. Let's get right into it. The story of GTA 5 is amazing. Previous game story are praised too much, feels like only because of nostalgia. Even GTA 4 sucks with all the random funny characters all over the place. Has no impact on the plot at all, especially in the middle of the game. Not to mention Nico's characters just breaks with all the I need money and I'll work for you even though you're an asshole. The same is relevant to all the previous games in my honest opinion. GTA 5's story is of course over the top sometimes, but overall it's a very consistent one, with a vibe of great action movie from the 80s. Every character feels relevant and natural to the story to some degree. So personally, I'm of the belief that I think the GTA 4 story is probably the best one that they have done so far. I do see where you're coming from with the, oh, here's a bunch of random kind of foreign characters all over the place, but that's really where the strength, in my opinion, of GTA is always lied into. Like, the people that you go to have those cutscenes and those really weird and random and, well, funny characters that are indeed all over the place. GTA 5 did try to make a more consistent story. I would be inclined to agree, but I think in turn it's kind of also lost the soul of what made those GTA games great. I can't really think of it like any sort of like highlights where I'm like, you know, laughing or like, oh my god, this is like great and this sort of stuff. There's no Nico Bellic and Roman Bellic moments or Brucey moments or little Jacob moments in GTA 5. Everything just seems to be, I don't know, it like I never like I think the GTA 5 story is good. It's great even. But when I compare it to the older GTA games, like, it's a great game, but it's not a great GTA game, if that makes sense, in terms of story, in my opinion. Because it's lacking all those fun characters. Like, if you do it in the Strangers and Freaks missions, that's when you get those, you know, real GTA humor and that sort of stuff that kind of coming back. Where in the story, I think they just try to focus way too much on the main characters, and that's kind of where, in my opinion, they kind of, you know, fell apart, in my opinion. GTA Online's PvP, when it's done in a fashion that isn't toxic, no orb spam, god mode, easy way out, is probably the single most fun I have while playing a video game ever. I'd be inclined that GTA Online's free roam PvP probably gives the most variety and most chaotic experience you could probably have in any game, really. And I think that's kind of also where its charm really lies. Personally, I kind of like that as well, because like, you never really know what someone's going to pull out. You know, you might be fighting on the ground, and before you know, the pulls out the tank, so you have to disable that, but then you can stop him from doing so, etc, etc. So like, there's definitely a lot more dynamics to it rather than just a simple PvP kind of map. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of free roam PvP, but I do definitely see the appeal, and I dabble into it for a little bit of fun. But yeah, it definitely is not going to be my day-to-day activity. Primarily because my enjoyment for GTA Online is kind of like, you know, it's like, just give me GTA 6. I don't see why people are so bothered by Modimon As A Santa talking about sex all the time, but don't mind Lester screaming in their ear. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Lester, I guess, it has its own unique ways of communicating, if you will, and so do Modimon As A Santa. I mean, then again, I do see why people don't really want to have another episode of the Porn Chronicles with those two, but I think it was just overdone, basically. And with Lester, the screaming in your ear, you know, it's kind of like fits to the current situation, where as Modimon As A Santa are just basically just kind of doing it in a place where it doesn't make any sense. Like, if it was in a context where it made sense, then I think it wouldn't be as annoying. But when it comes to those two, where you're just casually driving from your base to wherever you're going, and then they're just like, hey, you want to hear about all the things I'm going to do to you tonight? It's like, well, you're on the radio. And, you know, with Lester, it's like, well, you're in the middle of the heist and you got to hustle tussle or else you're going to be in jail for a long time. Perico single-handedly ruined GTA Online's entire progression and economy, and thus the nerf was very deserved. And then he lists basically how it was before GTA Online got Perico, and afterwards I'll show it on the screen so you can read it for yourself. Basically, the TLDR is that what I personally think is that Perico not only made it easier, but it also just simplified it, right? Before Perico, you had to go through a bunch of steps to make your money. Now with Perico, you just launch up the Perico heist and you make $1 million. I think that's not inherently a bad thing, especially because it makes stuff a whole lot less complicated. But at the same time, yeah, it definitely really ruined the way that you would progress through the game. Nowadays, if you're a newer player, your main goal really is going to be $2 million for Kasaka, and you're basically good to go. Which is not inherently a bad thing, because I think like having to manage about 5 businesses, it's just kind of like a full-time job for some people, so they didn't really quite enjoy that. This being simple and easy way of making money, it kind of also might have rebalanced it in some way, because now it's, you know, there's a $2 million car, I'll just do 2 Pericos and I'll be set. So I don't think it's inherently bad. It's a double-edged sword. It really is. That's really the best way to put it. GTA is one of the best games ever created, but doesn't have enough content to keep it fresh. True. Yeah. I mean, I would incline to say that it probably means GTA Online here. I would even still agree with it. I think that Rockstar really dropped the ball when it comes to DLCs, especially like over the past few years. If the game would have had more consistent updates, I think it could have been doing even better than it currently is. GTA Online goes often through these like long dry patches with nothing, and then we have like a couple of weeks of like excitement around the game, and then it's kind of dead again. You know, that's kind of unfortunate about the whole thing, especially if you're happen to be making videos on the game. Old GTA Online isn't as good as people portray it to be. It was still crashed way too often, the modding was almost as bad as on PC, and the game felt very undercooked. Yes, there's really not much else to add to this one, honestly. Like, if you remember the 360 days before like the next gen releases, it crashed all the time. That summer of 2014 was awful. So many times they were crashing, and yeah, in terms of if you compare it to now, especially, it's there wasn't as much content. It just no. GTA Online 2.0 introduced with GTA 6 will be the best online sandbox ever if they could import all the content from the current game, including the Los Santos map, so the player can continue where they left off and travel easily between... No! When GTA Online 2.0 comes out with GTA 6, I want nothing to do with Los Santos. I want nothing to do with my character, except maybe like the way that he looks. But aside from that, I want nothing to do with Los Santos. I spent 10 years in that shit. Nah, I'm good. No more. I want to be as far away from GTA Online 1.0 as possible. I'm good. Nah. You could keep that hot take. The contract DLC wasn't as good as everyone says it was. The Dre story felt boring to me and extremely pointless with no major stakes. Who the fuck cares about that mediocre album gets leaked? We kill a billionaire, shoot up the casino with no mask, Franklin and his genius planning it always goes wrong, and nothing happens. The payphone hits get repetitive quick, and were it not for Lamar and Franklin, the DLC would not have been as loved as it is right now. I hope that we ever get a micro DLC where they focus more on the characters. Well, it was an online DLC, and I don't think the story felt boring. I mean, it kind of depends on where you're really like coming from, really. If you're a Dr. Dre fan, or you're like, or at least know who he is, or have any sort of connection to the significance of who Dr. Dre is, then, you know, obviously that is a lot more interesting than, well, calling it a mediocre album, which tells me enough about how much you personally enjoy Dr. Dre's music, or have any sort of like, you know, relevancy to him, I suppose. I think the reason as to why I personally really enjoyed the content DLC and the stories was because it just kind of really felt like old school GTA and single player quality kind of like cutscenes and stuff. Whereas with most of the other online DLCs that wasn't the case. I think from a gameplay perspective, I get it with the payphone hits, they can get repetitive quick, but doesn't anything really. While GTA Online is not a terrible game, the only reason they enjoyed 10 years of success is due to no competition from other games. It's not inherently due to the quality of GTA Online. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I think the reason why GTA Online can get away with releasing a DLC every 6 months is because no one else is releasing anything like GTA Online, and those who try tend to fail miserably. So yeah, it's unfortunate though, because I think like having some competition in GTA Online or an alternative would just be nice. I think it would just be nice to just see Rockstar like being like threatened by another game company, but they're really just not. That's why they could take so long with GTA 6. Is like no one else is gonna bother to make anything as good as this, so screw it. The price increases are stupid. The economy of the game is bad enough. They need to fix the economy in the game or lower the prices for everything. Yes. Lower the price for everything, everyone. Everything is going to cost $100,000 and you get everything for free and a kiss on the cheek for a job well done. It's true. No, but jokes aside, I don't think that the economy in the game is bad at this point. You can make money very easily. Perico exists. Businesses exist, and if you do your time trials every week, I'm sure you'll be able to afford this stuff. Most of this, Oppressor Mark II being $8 million is really just to have newer players and screw them in the behind, really. Other than that, yeah, there's some very questionable decisions made with some of the price increases. I've done a video on that already, so check it out if you want to have the full arguments about all that stuff, but yeah, I think the economy is in a pretty decent spot at this point. Everything is kind of like around the same price, and there's not really any sort of outliers anymore, luckily. So if someone is in a CEO or MC and they're not doing any jobs or activities, then the game should remove that privilege after a certain time and let someone else register. I know there should be more space added by Rockstar, but if they can't be bothered implementing it, then that would be a best way to do it. I think that's actually a really good way of going about it. Yeah, just basically have like an AFK timer for those who are not actively doing anything with a CEO or an MC. I think I wouldn't want to be interested to see how that would work out though, because how would you exactly determine that? Because at the same time, if someone were to stay in their CEO or MC, wouldn't they just, you know, start a new one or just start up a job? I think there would definitely be plenty of exploits with that to prevent that from happening, but I do very much like the idea and I would like to see it implemented. And that was it for this Hot Takes video. If you enjoyed it, leave it a like, subscribe for more, and become a member like Chloe, GTA Plus, Left Lane Looney, OnlyFans When We Do It, Notorious Jam, and the Vinewood Car Club. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all later.